Hey y'all, my name's Jesse and I'm here today with Greg, my lovely co-host,
Hello.
to talk about anything and everything. So let's get started. First thing we're going to be discussing is this awesome short story by Kurt Vonnegut called Harrison Bergeron, right? Vonnegut is a German-American author who's best known for his other longer works like Slaughterhouse-Five and Cat's Cradle. And in the short story, and one of the reasons why I love it so much is that it's this bizarre dystopia where all citizens are equal. It doesn't sound like a dystopia at first until you figure out what makes everybody equal,
Sounds
which
like
is
communism to me.
does it actually? I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh." Yeah, because depending on a person's capability, they're subject to burdens, right? So the dancers would have to wear masks and people who are super smart have these brainwave regulators. It's really crazy stuff. So the protagonist, Harrison Bergeron, what the story's named for, is smart, strong, like the ideal human being. So he's burdened in so many ways. He's got weights, mask, everything. And I don't want to give too much away, but I'm going to read the first bit because I think it does a really lovely job of conjuring Bergeron's world. All right, so here we go. The year was 2081, and everyone was finally equal. They weren't only equal before God and the law, they were equal in every which way. Nobody was smarter than anybody else. Nobody was better looking than anybody else. Nobody was stronger or quicker than anybody else. All this equality was due to the 211th, 212th, and 213th Amendments to the Constitution, and to the unceasing vigilance of agents of the United States Handicapper General. All right, so that was an excerpt from Harrison Bergeron. And when I was looking into this, I found a similar anti status quo theme that mimics Harrison Bergeron's theme in a song by The Killers called Run for Cover. So, The Killers are a band better known for their songs like Mr. Brightside and Somebody Told Me. But this is a really solid track. It's a motivated tune that carries this revolutionary energy, complete with some amazing guitar layered warm synth pads, right? So personally, in addition to the musically genius background, it's also very lyrically developed. There's references to other artists, and it really pushes what you think about self value and how you evaluate others. All right, so that's all from me for the moment. And shifting gears a little bit, what have you brought to the table, Greg?
Well, I brought to the table a really cool historical story. And, well, history's a fascinating subject, although potentially lengthy and boring during a lecture. Yeah, I know, there's always something interesting or a funny story to learn about. Like, for example, the time when Switzerland invaded Liechtenstein 3 times by accident. Like, how does that even
Wait,
happen?
you're joking, right? Is this actually real?
Yes, how can you invade a different country by accident, but it's the same country 3 different times in a time period of only like 30 years?
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, you heard me correctly. Switzerland invaded the same country 3 times without even knowing it. The first one occurred in 1985 when Switzerland was performing an artillery exercise. Unfortunately, it was during a winter storm, and thus the munitions fired off the designated path into a forest in Liechtenstein, and of course started a forest fire, which costed millions in compensation for damages. The
Oh
second,
my
inv-
goodness.
yeah, the second invasion occurred 7 years later, when two Swiss recruits were given orders to establish an observation post and create a perimeter in Traisenberg. The only issue was that Traisenberg isn't in Switzerland. You can guess where that is. Actually. So the third one occurred surprisingly recently, relatively, 2007, when a Swiss commander took his men near the Switzerland-Liechtenstein border before realizing that he led his troops over a mile into the neighboring country. Like, what do you mean? You literally saying, okay, a mile takes like, I don't know, an hour to go through, so they literally walked for like an hour without even knowing they're not even the same country anymore.
Oh man, does it take you an hour to walk a mile?
Of course, the Swiss armed forces apologized, even though Liechtenstein didn't even know about it in the first place. They're like, okay, thank you, I guess. So if you ever feel bad about yourself, don't. He didn't screw that up badly. As funny as that story was, we have to dive into a scarier subject matter. A review of the original Goosebumps movie. Just kidding. It starred Jack Black. You can only take him seriously for so long.
Yeah, like 30 seconds.
Exactly. The original Goosebumps movie was first featured in late 2015 and centered around a young boy named Zach Cooper, moving from New York to a small town in Delaware. If you haven't watched it already, I recommend doing so. It is a great movie to watch with your family. Kids love it for the adventure and action within the movie, and then while the parents might like it because they might have read the Goosebumps trilogy, or not the trilogy, the series in the 90s, and they were like, oh wow, they're bringing back a lot of Goosebumps film that I used to read about. Basically, the main premise of the movie is that Zach Cooper, who had a crush on his neighbor, believed that his crush's father, Jack Black, aka R.L. Stein, was doing mischievous things. Despite Stein's warnings, he investigates his house anyways, with a school bully he met a day earlier. Uh,
Huh.
they, yeah, it was weird because the schoolboy he met a day earlier, he had like no connections towards him, and he's like, hey, do you want to go like invade my neighbor's house that looks extremely creepy? He's like, yeah, sure, sounds like a good idea to me. I'm like, what
Yeah,
the?
sounds legitimate. Let's go.
Yeah. So basically, they went too far, of course, and opened up one of the books in Stein's library, setting loose the abominable snow monster. Soon after, other books were accidentally opened, releasing other notable antagonists from the original book series. It was later revealed that the ventriloquist dummy was the one heading all of the madness that the monsters were then creating throughout the town after being set free from Stein's books, a nod to one of the most famous Goosebumps characters in the series. It's overall a great movie that surpassed my expectations, and I thought it'd be another corny children's movie, but I had a great time watching it with my family.
Awesome. I've never actually seen that or read the books, coincidentally. Yikes. But I'll be sure to check it out. Thanks, Greg. All right,
Yeah.
so now we get to talk about my favorite part, the positive takeaway for the episode. I'm going to be telling you guys about my favorite, a local charity. So it's called the Rainbow Connection. I have super strong personal ties to this organization. I've been fundraising with them for over 10 years, and I hold their message very dear to my heart. But enough about me. The Rainbow Connection is a nonprofit that works to support children in Michigan with life-threatening illnesses. This includes like providing children with a quote unquote wish. As far as the limits of the wishes go, I've seen everything from a girl wanting to swim with dolphins to a boy traveling to New York to see a performance of Hamilton.
Wow.
Super jealous about that one, by the way. Um, and like what the organization puts forth is truly amazing to me. And if you want more information on it, you can head over to rainbowconnection.org. I'm sure they'll be glad to have you there. So that's all we have for today. So thanks for listening to our podcast.
Hope you all enjoyed. Be sure to tune in next time for a surprise. See ya.
Bye.
So with that, I think that's all for today. Thanks for listening to our podcast. I hope you all enjoyed. So be sure to tune in next time for a surprise. See you then.